What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Beat the Odds podcast. How's everybody doing?
Man, I'm doing well, man. Brylan got on and said it's been a crazy day. I was anticipating a crazy day, but it was actually smooth for me, man. It was pretty
Yeah.
light. Heading into my vacation tomorrow. It's
Hey,
been a good Monday for me.
yeah, I wish I was on vacation, bro. But yeah, I just got to Atlanta this morning, man. Because we're getting ready to launch Atlanta next month, and so yeah, we in 0 to 1 mode. Like,
Oh, you boots on
got
the ground. You boots
yeah,
on the
got
ground,
got
man.
got to get it up. I got a week to get it
Yeah.
into a good place. So in a month, we good to go.
But
So
you've done
yeah,
this before, right? In different cities.
yeah. I've done it in different cities, man, and so I would say I'm 60% confident. I think part of it is like different markets do have like different kind of like dynamics,
Right.
right? Yeah, and so part of it is that, and then when you're bringing something new, there's always kind of like that hesitation, and so
Yeah.
I'm just in the mindset of getting some points on the board because I'm like,
Yeah.
eventually you'll come around.
How do you go about launching a new market for like our listeners? Because I'm sure we got some founders who listen to the
Yeah.
pod. And I know we've all obviously been founders. So what are you learning anything new about how to launch things on the ground and how to physically be there? Because I'm sure you're not there for no reason, right? You're there because obviously your presence yields some success, right? So yeah, what are
Yeah.
you doing tactically to kind of get this new market off the ground?
Yeah, so before I kind of get into the tactics, right? I would say the frame to kind of understand our business is through the lens of like a marketplace, right? There's multiple sides to it. Obviously, on the demand side of things, we have the members, so folks who are new to a city looking to attend experiences, and what we're doing is we're matching them up with, restaurants, bars, different experiences, etc., that they can discover as well. I would say there's a really good Substack post from Lenny. I'm forgetting his last name, but if you just look up Lenny's newsletter, he has a really good Substack post on marketplace dynamics. Do most marketplaces get kickstarted by constraining demand or by constraining supply? And what that looks like for us is like just being super hyper focused on supply, right? I think we've reached a stage now where the brand is strong enough to where demand ends up kind of taking care of itself. So that's why we're strategically here in Atlanta next, because we already see like the number of subscribers we have in Atlanta and we haven't even like launched. But I think, to really make that work, you do have to have quality supply. And so in terms of the tactics, I think the first one is really from like a bar and restaurant standpoint, it's not rocket science. I'm not going to sit here and act like it, but it's a little bit tricky in terms of really figuring out like who has the power of the dollar, because it's not like we're walking in there and saying like, hey, we want to just like partner with you and send you people. No, I am going in there and saying, hey, I want to send you people. And usually it's a number where the first thing that comes out of their mouth is like, oh, you're a promotional group, so like there's a food and beverage minimum to this. No, we don't pay anything. Like, so I want the space for free. And then on top of that, I want you to pay me $5 to $10 per person that I send your way. And once again, it's not, I wouldn't say that by itself is not innovative, but the paradigm is just different, right? And I think, before, like when we were first launching markets, like I think there was some anxiety because I'm like, if I was in their shoes and you came at me like that, fuck no. Why would I take on all the risk and still pay you? But what has been shown is if you are able to kind of get a few on board, eventually, the ball gets rolling. And it does work. And so one of the things I quickly try to do is map the city in terms of understanding the hospitality groups. Just because I can go talk to a bar manager, they don't control the pen. I need to talk to the hospitality group. And then oftentimes from that is like, I think it's a business of trust, right? Like, no offense, I'm not dealing with engineers, like I'm dealing with everyday people, right?
Mhm.
Who, are trying to make a living off their business. So I think one, it's like really building that trust and understanding like that's what we're selling, right? And so I think early on when we were launching markets, it was a lot of like over promising versus like now that we've launched, we're in 16 markets now. So we have really good data to like really speak to like how demand will grow over time. So the sales pitch is a lot easier, I would say. And then the other
Mm,
thing too is like once you kind of get the relationship with the hospitality group, I think before I used to try to go after all of like their properties under their brand versus like now I take a crawl, walk, run approach where I know if I get it right with one, bet they got the trust to get it, for everyone else. And
mm,
so, yeah, literally, bro. It's I think what we've been doing now is before it used to be like we would set a launch date, and the launch date would be in like 2 weeks. It'd be like, hey, we're trying to launch by the end of the month. Don't get me wrong, that was good at that stage of the company because it really did like push you to be like, can you really make that shit happen? Like, and
mhm.
we made it happen, but now we're giving ourselves a lot more time to like go in there, almost like similar to Waymo. I would say go in there, build relationships. That way, it's a
Mhm.
solid foundation when we do launch, and things kind of like maintain itself. But yeah, those are some of
Yeah,
the things we're doing, bro.
that's dope. I'm always interested in how these in real life businesses kind of are formed and how they kind of really look on the inside.
Yeah,
Because I've been seeing more and more about your company being talked about in different social circles here in Houston, which is really interesting. So you guys are definitely
we
hitting
launch in
the.
2 weeks in Houston.
Yeah, yeah, okay, okay. I'm about to say y'all must be seeding the market because I'm like I've been hearing the chatter here and there, and I'm like, oh shit, okay, something
Yeah,
must be happening. So that's what's up, man. That's dope to hear, man.
yeah. Nah, it's definitely a learning experience, but I think, yeah, like I would say, I mean, I do think some of the things we're able to do now, we weren't capable of doing them, or they might not have been as worked as well, like when
Mhm.
we were still at that stage of a company, I would even say like 8 months ago. Where now I think, yeah, we can really lean into the data. And so like when we have the data plus the brand, it literally almost sells itself over time.
Yeah, dope, dope. Okay, okay. All right, where we want to
Yeah.
take it to, guys? We got a plate full of stuff.
Yeah, we got
Well,
a
let's
handful of
start with
stuff.
the plate. Start with the plate. I mean, the fact that your health. You
Yeah.
a young
That's
cat.
funny.
You a young cat.
Yeah, we
I
seen
feel
that.
younger every
We
day, man.
seen that. It was unbelievable.
Funny,
I couldn't believe that. I was like, Dre's
man.
not been doing nothing that I've been doing, but he's about 5
Hold on.
years biologically younger than I am. And
It's crazy.
I thought I was the youngest. I definitely thought that, but I was wrong.
That's funny. That's funny. So yeah, so to catch everybody up, I had heard about, like I mentioned on the last pod, I heard about Function Health a long time ago, and I had meant to like eventually sign up, but just recently it came back onto my radar again. Probably what, like a week ago, like maybe like a week and a half ago. I immediately moved on, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not even gonna think about this again. Let me go ahead and sign up, become a member. And for those who didn't listen to the last pod, Function Health is a blood testing company that allows you to essentially schedule an appointment. You can go give a bunch of blood. It's actually interesting because when I went through the process, I started thinking about Theranos, and I was like, "Fuck, has she been right?" I was like, "Has
Oh,
she
it'd be
been
crazy.
right?" It would
That'd
have
been
been. I
insane.
mean, this would have been like the most transformative idea because I had
Mm,
to give a lot of blood. Now, normally, I'm a
Yes.
person who does blood panels annually, so I go to my primary care doctor, and normally annually I do a set of blood tests. But I've never done anything this in depth. So, Function Health at a baseline, I believe they check about 160 different biomarkers. And so they have to take a lot, and you can do additional add-ons. And I think I did do some add-on tests in addition to just what they provide on the basic level, but they take a lot of blood. And at one point I was like, damn, you still going? Like it was just bow after bow after bow. I'm like, damn, like, and you feel it too, because obviously you're literally giving blood. So after a while, you're like, fuck, I started feeling a little tired. I'm like, damn. And I'm like, man, if
what was the process leading up to it? Like, did you have to? How did you prepare for that?
it was super simple, and I like the way that Function Health handled it from a product standpoint. So you go in, you kind of answer some questions on onboarding. I think you can upload some of your previous medical history and results and stuff like that as well. And then basically you can schedule. They use Quest Diagnostics, which I believe is like one of the largest diagnostic companies in America, at least. Yeah, like if you had to do any, blood work for a job or anything like that, most likely you dealt with Quest Diagnostic. So I just immediately went in. They had a bunch of availability, and leading up to the appointment, they sent me a text and an email kind of just telling me, like, fast this many hours before, drink this much water. It was pretty straightforward, very simple steps to follow, nothing crazy. I'm sure that varies by blood test that you may be doing, but for me, it was pretty simple. And then I just went straight in. I didn't even have to wait. Put my information into a tablet, went in the back, and then started the blood work. And she, again, like, I'm not lying. Like, it was a shit ton of blood. And then immediately, I think maybe like an hour or two after doing it, I started seeing results in the function portal. So if you log into the function portal, they said it normally takes about 4 weeks to get all your results back. But I guess as tests are coming back, they immediately start giving you some insight into the tests that are actually coming. And then maybe like 3 days after getting the results, I still haven't gotten all of my results yet. I'm still waiting for all of them before I kind of go through, peel through it and review it with my primary care doctor. But one of the things that you kind of get is a biological age. And I was shocked when my shit came back. My shit came back at 22 years old. So basically I'm 9, it said I'm 9 years younger than my calendar age, which I was pretty shocked by. But there was also some other things on there too that was out of range that had no idea there was even a thing, specifically around heart, right? And if you know, like,
Mm,
I'm not incredibly versed on the true stats, but I do understand that Black men struggle deeply with heart disease and heart attacks, right? And we struggle a lot with just heart complications and cardiovascular issues. And so I'm glad that I was able to find some of these outer range biomarkers, because you know what the hell I'm about to do? I'm about to go through every
Yeah.
single one with a level of intensity and scrutiny, looking at what can I do to move the needle in the other direction. And so then now when I go and I do these series of tests again, because part of the membership is I think you could do twice a year, I'll be able to see if there's actually any improvements alongside recommendations from my doctor. So I'm really excited to just have access to all this information. I was so excited. I got my wife on it as well. And I'm even thinking about like gifting this to like some folks in my family, like my sister and my mom and some other people in my family, because I know they're not like keeping up with it, with their blood work at the level that they should. So I highly recommend anybody out there definitely look at Function Health. And if it's not Function Health, just get in control of your health, starting with your blood work
Yeah.
and making sure you understand like what's really going on there. So yeah, that's been my experience so far. So still waiting for the rest of it, but so far so good.
I got a question for you, Rodney. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, you're kind of the expert or becoming the expert in this space.
Mhm.
How does one after getting blood drawn, the tests are taken? How does it come up with like your biological age? Like how does all that like work? Like how does it go from blood to like signal?
Typically, it's based on, so every company might do it differently. We actually, yeah, at Blueprint, that's not something that we do, probably because we're like really, really, we try to be as close as possible to evidence based. Although I do think the biological age is a really good feature. There's probably some type of calculation based on some core biomarkers.
What's a biomarker?
Well, biomarkers are just these levels and these metrics inside of your system, like your hormones, your cholesterol, your insulin ranges, all these different things, your liver. They track, they put a number to the health of your organs, basically. And these things affect you every single day. And so, and my hope for Dre is that his biological age continues to stay the same as more of the results come in. Hopefully it stays at that low age as more of your results
Mm.
come in, because the calculation is based on all your results. But that's what it's based on. It's based on all your different results. And either way, though, well, the one thing that I love just hearing is just that, and this is typically what happens when people start investing in this type of testing, because function and superpower, et cetera, they've made blood work more popular, and they're driving marketing around it, and it's getting people into this. And then Blueprint, yeah, we have biomarkers, and that is a product that I work on, product that we're putting out to the general public, but that's not Blueprint's main product. It's a part of our whole suite. We're like the Apple of health and wellness. So that's a part of like, our piece. We're like Apple Notes. And maybe we're not Notion, but we're Apple Notes in that category. But what I see with people is that it's just amazing. I love seeing this, because even people who are brand new, who even work on these type of products, and some of these people who work on Function, Superpower, Blueprint, you name it, they've never done blood work. And then when they do it, they have a similar reaction to Dre, where you have this whole list of biomarkers. It's over 100. Actually, in fact, there was a lawsuit where Function sued Superpower. This recently, this was within the last couple of days, around March 15, March 16th, where they sued Superpower for claiming they tested more biomarkers than they actually did. So this is actually getting kind of serious, because they don't want people to be misled about the amount of things that are being tracked for the price point, essentially. And but anyways, the response that people have when they go in, yeah, number one, like the blood, right? People are shocked by how much blood it is. Really, what it is that it's a lot of vials. It's in reality, it's like a small cup of blood, but it will feel, especially when you're
Yeah.
watching it, when you're watching it, and each time,
Yeah. And I heard that shit too. It was like it's like an oil well. That shit was gushing. I'm like, oh shit.
right,
Yeah.
and hopefully everybody, and I know we try to do this at Blueprint, is be really upfront about how much blood is going to be, because people are usually not used to doing that. Because when a doctor typically takes your blood test, they're not really trying to test as much biomarkers as function or Blueprint, etc. So that's interesting. But what I see happening is like it's like this natural inclination to focus on the things that are out of range. Unless you are in your early 30s. If you're in your 30s, I guarantee you, you have at least one thing that's out of range. At least one.
Hmm.
Now, if you don't, then more power to you. That's an awesome place to be. But most people are going to have one, two, maybe three, 1 to 3 things that are out of range. And that triggers something in people. The next thing they start doing is they start looking up that specific biomarker. Let's say it's cholesterol, which is related to your health. It could be HDL or LDL. It could be below range or above range. And so then you usually in these platforms, they'll tell you what that means, what it's connected to. And then people start going in the rabbit hole. They start researching. And then people start saying, okay, do I need to do exercise? Do I need to eat less of this food? Do I need to buy, this supplement? And it just creates this like this, it pulls people into this health and wellness world, in this longevity world. And that's what I love to see. And I just love to see it. I honestly can't believe it. It's coming from somebody who I was always interested in this stuff. I did my first blood test well before Function, Blueprint, or anybody existed, maybe 10 years ago. It just out of
Hmm.
curiosity, just to understand what was going on in my body. And I never really spoke on it because nobody was ever interested in it. And I just didn't see, and it was kind of weird. Like, it was kind of like, 'cause I couldn't really explain why I wanted to do it. It was
Yeah.
like 10 years ago, to like explaining like, oh yeah, guys, like I just got all my blood drawn, and trying to explain it. Like, I just didn't have a good
Yeah.
reason to explain that.
I think what's interesting about Function Health is for me, because similar to you, I normally get my blood work every year, right? And I was shocked to
Yes.
hear like with Nia, my wife, she wasn't getting her blood work every year, which was crazy to me. I'm like, wait a
Um,
minute. I'm like, wait, that's which is why I'm like, no, you gotta get this. I'm like, you gotta check your shit at least once a year. Now I'm about to start doing mine twice a year, but I'm like at least once a year. But the
yes.
problem is I think yes, you get your blood work for me, but the problem is how that information was presented, and then like
Hmm.
what actual tests were being done. And then I think where function takes it to another level is through these things called protocols, right? Which I think is quite interesting, right? Which is taking your data, right, and then building a set of steps for you to actually figure out, okay, what actions should I take to improve these things in the first place, right? What are actual dietary steps that I should take? Because a lot of times, unfortunately, a lot of doctors, they don't really have the specialties to really even offer that advice. Sometimes you got to get referrals to a dietitian or a nutritionist, somebody else to give it to you. And then it's like, okay, well then what fitness workout, what can I do fitness wise? And then you might have to go to a trainer. You might have to go to these different people. And what I think was interesting with function, at least in my early experience, is they try to consolidate a lot of that information. First of all, making it easy for you to interpret what your actual results are. And
Mm,
what are you even actually testing for? Because a lot of times when you go to the doctor and you're like, I just need blood work, it's really up to the discretion of the doctor to even order the blood work to be done. You can say, oh, I want to check for cancer, I want to check for this, but that's a really broad thing, right? You don't know, oh, I want to check this particular biomarker in the kidney. And maybe some people do who are really involved in that. But I feel like the average person is not going into the doctor doing that.
yeah.
At least I had never done that before. And so function at least have given me a framework to how to even think about my biomarkers, how to even think about my blood work, so that from this day forward, when I even talk to a doctor concerning my blood work, the conversation is about to be totally different. We're not even about to talk
Yes.
generically anymore. We gonna get real specific now because now I got the framework. Now I got the framework and the protocols to even back into it. So
Yeah.
I think it changes like how you even see it, right? So again, I'm just highlighting the beauty of the product of function. Is it like yes, the tests have been around for a long time, hundreds of years for people to test blood work. But I think the way that information is presented to people has been through a very opaque way of thinking about it. You just get a notification that your blood work was good, and they're like, "Yep, you're good. You ain't got no cancer," and you just kind of keep it pushing. And I think
Yeah.
function pushes you to ask another level of questioning that at least I wasn't asking before. So Yeah.
It streamlines the experience. Like for me personally, no doctor was ever able to give me a blood work that I was satisfied with. So
Yeah.
anytime in the past that I ever had blood work that I was satisfied with, I had to go through private channels. And some of these channels still exist. Like there's requesttest.com, private MD labs, etc. And those things, but you have to know how to build the test. You have to,
Mhm.
or you have to, there's like, they have all these different panels. So you have to kind of like, you know, for example, you could just select like male panel and you just assume, and it gives you a lot of stuff, but it's not like these new companies where what we're doing is we're not just like private MD labs. We're not like your doctor. We're not like requesttest.com where, see, those sites were better than the doctors because I think the doctors are always trying to manage.
Mhm.
So they're either trying to gatekeep. So, okay, do you need this or do you not need this? And they're thinking about a bunch of different things. It could be insurance. It could be maybe they don't want you to be like, why do you need so much blood? And they don't want to deal with that and all these things. And then like Dre said, they're kind of just, you ask them a question, they're just like, oh yeah, you're good, nothing serious. But you didn't, and you know what's actually interesting though? A lot of doctors are not trained to really actually interpret all of these biomarkers. So
Right.
it's actually interesting when you think about it that the people that you kind of trust to kind of hear this information are not entirely informed on all this stuff, especially even like the general doctors. And so I think what the market has done well with Function, Superpower, and now Blueprint is basically simplified this to where go get the blood, you get drawn, and then now, because I used to have this thing where I had the more advanced panels and I had the PDFs and had all the values I knew my biomarkers, but then I had to do all this extra research and
Mhm.
it was just a bunch of numbers, out of range, in range, whatever, below range, whatever. And I had to do extra research. But these platforms, what things mean are right next to each one. So this is going to change everything, and doctors are going to have a lot to deal with. They already have to deal with this AI wave, where people are coming in with AI, informed with AI, and now they have to kind of deal with that. But then they're going to have to. Now they're also having to deal with, So I like it because that's making doctors actually have to work for the money that they're charging, us
100%.
for and the insurance companies for. You're smart. And you know what? If a patient comes in informed, and my guess is this idea of user driven healthcare is going to increase. This is something that was talked about on This Week in Startups by Jason Calacanis himself. But this idea of user driven healthcare is going to be something that's going to really, really, and it's basically just putting the power of people's health into their own hands as opposed to being managed by somebody else.
100%, bro. I think, bro, one of the first things I'm gonna do, bro, like shit, I get a big chunk of bread, nigga, I want a private doctor. Like,
Yeah.
I want to lean fully into private medicine because to your point, bro, the industry has been managed by insurance companies. I remember I interned at Blue Cross and Blue Shield,
Yeah.
and so I had a little bit of insight into this back, a decade ago when I was interning there. Like, it's all about risk management inside. It's not about patient care. That's not what it's about. It's a business that is purely
Oh,
built
you
on
saw it. Yeah,
managing
you saw that.
just that's purely built on managing risk. I mean, that is the business. The business is to underwrite risk, and to push and pull certain levers to minimize business impact and loss. I mean, that's the nature of the business, right? And the effects of that is patient health. And so, yeah, I 100% look forward to the future where it is more patient driven because today it's not that way. Insurance companies literally will deny some of the blood work that Function Health provides. They'll literally deny it because they just don't want to cover it. Because they're like, well, why do you need to know that? You don't, you know what I'm saying? Why do you need that
Oh,
test?
that's
Why do you
oh,
need that?
that kills me so much. I'll put it like this. To some extent, I'll give insurance a little bit of a pass. Not really, because I think that they should be covering these baseline tests. They should be covering baseline. I'll give them a pass. But the one thing that this really bothers me a lot is when doctors say that if I have the money, just order it. If I have the money, just order it. Don't worry about why I need to see what's going on
Hmm.
in my body. Like
Yeah.
that's the craziest thing. Like, don't worry about trying to manage why I need to know what's going on inside of my body. I have the right to know what's going on
Hmm.
inside of my body, regardless, I don't need to provide a reason to know what's going on inside of my own body. That's insane. Whether or not it's covered by insurance, that's another topic. But there is a lot of customers that we've had, other people have had that have spoken to this where doctors will outright reject. No, you don't no, you don't need
I've
that.
had a
No,
I've had a
this
doctor tell me that before. Like I wanted to get, which I'm actually going to do it through Function Health because they provide scans. We
yeah,
talked a lot about blood work, but they also provide
yeah,
scans. So if you want to get a scan of your brain, if you want to
yeah,
get a lung scan, a heart scan, like you can
yeah.
you can go through a different company, you can get these different scans. I remember asking my doctor if I can get a scan of my heart, and he was like, "Well, they normally don't." He gave me all these reasons, and I'm just like, "Bro, I don't want to go through hoops and hurdles. I want the fucking scan. It's that
Yeah,
simple. I want the
I
scan.
have the
I feel
bread.
like I need the scan, and I just want the scan. Like, why do I gotta
Yeah.
jump through all these hurdles to get a scan? Like it shouldn't even be like that. But unfortunately, that's just the way that it is. And the medical system wants people to come after they already have a problem. It's too fucking late at that point.
It's the
I'm
worst.
already
That's the
dying.
worst.
I'm
That's
already
the
dying. Now
worst.
you want me to ask for help?
Yeah. Well, it's
Hold
profitable
up.
at that point. It's profitable
Like
at that point. Yeah,
it
they do
sucks,
want you
but
to
like
ask, they do want you to ask at
That
that
is
point
but we
true.
all
because now
know
you
that it's
need them.
like that.
So
Exactly. It's
So let
horrible.
me ask this question to y'all, because if I'm just being transparent, I have not got a blood test done. I am very compelled based off of this information, but I'm not going to sit here and act like not. Yeah, it's actually weird because it's not necessarily the blood piece
Mhm.
that I think is giving me anxiety. It's one of those things of like, what might I figure out? Am I ready to figure that out?
It's
You know, you,
empowering though. It's actually empowering though. It's
yeah.
actually
It's so
empowering. You'll be
it's
surprised.
it's
It's
so the
more
question I
empowering.
want to throw at y'all is like, I mean, yeah, is this something, yeah, is this kind of frame of mind in relation to like having this type of like insight and control over your health something you saw in your household kind of like growing up, or was there a switch for you that then led to kind of like this lens you now kind of have like on your health? And in your stance, Dre, like you already said it, you got your wife on it, you about to get the whole family on it, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, what's been that kind of journey?
Bro, honestly, what it comes down to is it's the reality of just like life. Like we're not getting younger. You know what I'm saying? And so it's more
Yeah.
important today to get some of these things in check than you look up 20 years from now and now you're trying to work your way backwards to figure out what could you have done. Right. So we're at that point where it's just like it's more important than it's ever been. It's always been important. But I would argue, at least for me, it's more important. And then the second thing too, bro, is just like thinking about longevity for me. Like I'm really trying to tackle some super ambitious stuff in terms of my career. I'm doing I'm trying to have children. I want to be around as long as I possibly can for them. And so for me, I'm focused on longevity. You know what I'm saying? So, and then the other thing too, I'm like, my mindset is like, if you have the money, which I do have the money to invest in my health to do these things, why not? What else am I going to spend the money on? You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm not going to spend it on my health, if I'm not going to spend it on, my family and bettering my family, then what's the point of me working so hard? What's the point of me earning this money? What's the point of me building this wealth and doing all this stuff if I'm not going to actually put it back into myself? And so I kind of feel like I just owe it to myself and I owe it to my household. I owe it to my family to invest what I can into making sure we live the best, healthiest lives that we possibly can. And so that's just kind of where I'm at with it.
And that's an incredible mindset. And that will improve the quality of life of yourself and everybody around you. And that's the thing that we at Blueprint want to be like almost like the default of how people feel. Because that right now that's not the status quo. The
Mhm.
status quo is a little bit more reactive. The status quo is a little bit more, wait and see. The status quo is like, I are kind of it's just more lackadaisical, and I think we want people to want to live to 100. We want people and not to think, and when they hear that, not to think that they're going to be walking around crippled and with their back, fucked up, and
Right.
like no, not like that, but more so healthy and biologically healthy, and they've done what they could. And there's all these different things. And we're at a time right now where AI and whatnot is going to take the scientific advancements to a whole nother level. So people will be surprised. Even Jamie Dimon himself uh from JP Morgan was like, a lot of the people our age don't realize like a lot of you guys, or due to all these scientific advancements, if you're 20 years old right now, you might live to 120. Like, this is not
Mhm.
going to be like your grandparents and your parents that you see right now, they're getting, it's not going to be that. It's not going to be that. And that's not obvious to everybody. And so when you realize that, you might think, let me take care of myself now so that I can have a longer, better. So this is a great topic. I love to continue to always tap into this. But speaking of AI and speaking of real world, let's talk about atoms.
Yeah,
Travis
yeah.
Kalanick is back in the game. Let me just read his story real quick, because I think this is a masterclass in
Yep.
painting a vision. He's used some tricks that I've used in the past. So here it goes. He has a vision statement on the Atoms site, atoms.co. I left Uber in 2017 or broken. I had been torn away from an idea and a movement that I poured my life into. I had lost my bearings as I found the world increasingly operating by the rules of perception, not reality. It was only days after the death of my mother and the near death of my father in a boating accident when an investor decided to come out from the shadows and exploit this vulnerable moment to wrestle control of this idea away. I bled, but I did not perish. I got back up and fought my way back into the arena, back to my calling, back to building. Digitizing the physical world is my life's work. After Uber, I started building city storage systems. The obscure name was a nod to atoms-based computation, with a focus on real estate. Our first computer was a food computer, digitized manufacturing, real estate, and logistics for food. Today, we expand our physical computation portfolio to the mining and transport industries and rename the company Atoms.
Hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up. Because people really, if you, for the listeners, if you have not went and read the full site, it's genuinely genius. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
Yeah.
he ain't losing this one. He ain't losing this one
Yeah.
for sure. But I think the thing that really resonated with me was down here at the beginning, the last paragraph. My dude said, I'm back. I often get the question from entrepreneurs or executives, what should I do next? My answer has always been become deeply self aware. And when the right thing comes, you will know it. If you know yourself, your next thing, your new idea, your work soulmate will reveal itself. When I told my friends, family, and colleagues about my plans for what was next, they were really excited that I was coming back. The thing is, I never left. You talk about a fucking mic
Yeah.
drop.
Yes. Yeah.
He been operating in the shadows for a while.
He's been in the shadows for real.
No, for real, for real, for real. I'm super excited to see what he does, man. He's one of my favorite like founders that I think personally just embodies the core essence of what it really takes to be a successful startup founder, but also just a successful entrepreneur. Like
Yeah.
the ability to persist through pain. And I think oftentimes like Elon is often looked at as a gold standard of that, which I do think Elon certainly exemplifies greatly, right? Almost better than anyone. But I do think Travis Kalanick is another founder who most people may not be as familiar with because he hasn't really been in the shadows, really been in the light the last couple of years. And at one point he was, and then he kind of went away. And if you're not really in the tech, then you probably really don't know who he is. But I just think about like as an entrepreneur, just what it takes to succeed, what it takes to win, whatever winning is defined by for yourself. I think Travis Kalanick embodies every single attribute of that on 10. So I get inspired like with his story. I get inspired listening to him. And I'm just excited about what he does again because it seemed like everything he's worked on has been somewhat transformative. So I'm excited to see what he does with next chapter.
Yeah, and I honestly, man, like, I mean, we were talking about this in the group chat, obviously around like Waymo, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like if as a listener, if you do not know the early days of Uber and
Yeah.
how they went about literally wielding the world to take shape around the vision that they had, like they didn't that you talk about ask for permission later. This was
Yep.
like the true definition of asking permission later. And like I think one of the things that I really like respect about him is, now being in a space where, it is physical things in the world that, I'm engaging with like on a daily basis. It is one of the most interesting things because it's so humans are so variable. Like we're predictable in some ways, but humans are so variable. And I think about like this Uber challenge, man. I mean, to get to the scale that which he did,
Go
bruh.
read the book for those who out there who really want to get a good sense of it. And honestly, there's a lot of books out there, but I think one book that kind of really gives a really good insight into how Uber was built is a book by Mike Isaac called Super Pumped. I
Yeah,
highly
that was
recommend it.
crazy.
I read it like 2 or 3 times, honestly. It's just a good
That's
listen. It's
crazy.
a good audiobook listen. Really, really fascinating into like the tactics that Uber had to do, overcoming city regulation, overcoming the taxi commissions, overcoming investors, the story of his mom passing and his dad almost dying. I mean, like literally, it goes through the incredible timeline of just building Uber, the rise, fall again, and hopefully there's a chapter two of Travis's journey with Adams because I think he certainly deserves it. But yeah, Super Pumped by Michael Isaac, highly recommend it. I think it's an incredible book.
I read at 9 or about 9 years ago, I read Super Pumped while we were living in Berkeley, California, and it was it inspired me. It changed how I approached things, changed how I looked at startups, and it gave me a back end to how things kind of unfolded with Uber. And for me to work at Bird later, yeah, it wasn't Uber, but because so many people were from Uber, it kind of felt like I felt Travis's influence in a lot of ways. I just saw how those people worked and how they came in, and
Yep.
it definitely changed how I looked at work as well. And just in general, yeah, I think Travis is a great founder. And it sounds like he has, something to maybe not necessarily something to prove, maybe a little bit, but just to point out some of the couple of things that stood out to me as far as some storytelling things that I think just to point out real quick is when somebody starts with a date, they know how to tell a story.
Mm,
Stories are really good when you start out with a date. One of the reasons why is because they anchor a timeline in people's mind. So that's one thing. Another thing that he did really good, which I always thought was genius, was he started off with vulnerability immediately. So it was like I was heartbroken. So he didn't try to dance around it. He didn't try to say like, I was like I left the company and kind of like with no heart in it. No, he started off saying, "No, I was heartbroken. No, I was broken. I was taken advantage of. I was exploited. I was in a vulnerable place." And talking about hard stuff like that, and things that we know, but it's just putting it out there like that. I think it pulls people into the vision that he's, ultimately, so I could tell he spent a lot of time because you can see how even in the vision state is only everything's very concise. So he reduced things down. And I just wanted to bring that up to anybody who definitely founders, but even if you're not a founder listening, those are some aspects of stories that I found in my own personal journey that helped me as far as especially with raising money just being able to anchor a timeline, being able to set a date, being able to be very, very concise were all things that helped me raise millions of dollars, basically. So I saw Travis do that. I was like, oh yeah, that's a nod to that. So I guess there's so many things we could talk about with his Adams company. So many things, I guess.
Do we have a sense of exactly what he's doing? So I know before he announced his day, the company was called City Storage Systems, I believe, and they were essentially building ghost kitchens, right? And building the robots, essentially building a fleet of robots to produce food inside these kitchens. They might have expanded beyond that, but I know that was at least my understanding of it. I don't know if he shared more about like exactly what they're going to be building, or is it still to be determined yet?
Yes, he did. He did. So there's two things. Adams mining, which is helping us automate mining, probably rare earths, if I had to guess. That's probably him saying, okay, I see AI. I see this demand for rare earths. I see that we have a dependency on China. I see all that. Well, we've already built you know, a robot, a food computer. We can build one for the earth. So I think that's what he's saying with that one. And then the second one is Adams Transport, which is basically a nod to Uber, which is basically probably his way of getting back into that autonomous, vehicle, you know, potentially it's not just ride sharing. And thinking this, he's saying transport. So he's giving himself room there. So it could be ride sharing, but it could also just be all the other forms of transport as well. And
Man, what if he
yeah,
buys Uber
transport.
back?
Well,
What if he does
He plans. He probably plans to.
a reverse
He probably
merger
plans
and
to.
like takes Uber private?
I think he
That'd be
plans to.
crazy.
well,
I think he plans to.
I want to add a very important piece here because earlier, when we were just talking about him in general, as an entrepreneur, we alluded to like him genuinely being on the caliber of like an Elon Musk if we're going to keep it a stack when it comes to the physical world. But I think if you think about what Elon is seeking to do in that robotic space, he's going for the general purpose humanoid approach. And I think the thing you have to call out with Travis's bet is he's on the other end of the spectrum and going specialized like
Yeah.
robotics in general.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And for someone who, how long has he been operating like the cloud kitchens? It's been a minute.
I think 8 years.
Yeah, so he's had 8 years of real world experience, like real world experience operating these kitchens. I think it's very telling that he's choosing not to build a humanoid robot. I think the fact that he is doubling down on like the fact that environments require very specific type of, like physical robotic systems to be able to achieve that is probably something worth like paying attention to across many adjacent spaces.
Yeah. I think I mean, that's a good point to highlight. I would suspect that one of the reasons beyond just like the technical limitations, I mean, let's just be honest, there's just a significant amount of money there, right? At least in the food space, right? A lot of the costs associated to the food industry. I mean, food restaurants alone in this country is almost $1 trillion market. Just restaurants. If you look at groceries is another almost $1 trillion in spend. So you're talking about almost $2 trillion just there. But if we're just talking about restaurants, about $1 trillion, a good chunk of the capex for a restaurant is labor, right? So I think the opportunity that he sees, again, beyond the technical side of it, is, I mean, that's a lot of margin to capture, right? It's like if you can automate that, if you can get things more efficient, then there's significant cost economics. Like there's just an economic advantage there, right? And I think he sees the same thing on the transport side. And I think he sees the same thing on the mining side as well. While there probably is some decisions at a technical level that probably caused him to maybe dive in some of these niches, I think really zooming out, there's a business case for why these things make sense. And I think like he knows that, right? And I think in order to really compete, you got to have a business case to make sense. Whereas like in the case of Tesla, not to say they don't have that, but they have the room to kind of experiment in a different way. So I don't know. I'm just speculating here. I have no
No,
idea, but I would just say he's choosing these pockets that these are high profit pools, right? If you're able to automate and get these things right, right?
I think one other thing that I would add too, because I do think, I mean, yeah, there's the technical aspect. You just hit on the economics aspect. The thing that I would be curious about is like the operational aspect of these, right? So if we
Right.
think about, is, being done with food, what's being done, with mining, what is even being done with like transport. If we're going to be honest, many of those are like, they're very process oriented. Like,
Right.
and so the thing that I'm almost kind of curious about is like, what operational advantages does that create, right? What learnings can he take from one part of the business and now be able to apply operationally to another? Because even the fact that like he intentionally said in terms of the transport business, he's going after robotics, like fleet management for robotics and autonomous vehicles. Like
Yeah.
that is very interesting. Especially
Mhm.
given like, yes, Waymo is at a certain scale, which I think it still blows people's minds. But where we know all of that will be probably here within the next, 3 to 5 years. That is very intriguing. And so, yeah, I think you bring up a really good point because I hadn't even really like thought about the margin opportunity there.
I'm loving all this. I'm loving the acceleration. In fact, it's making me accelerate in my own life much faster. I'm just trying to run into the future, embrace the future.
Mm.
I already see that almost every city, almost every major city by this time next year will have Waymo in them. Almost every major city will have them. Some even they might even have do some suburbs by that by
Mhm.
this time next year. I didn't even mention that Zooks.
Bro,
There's another competitor that they're in Atlanta testing. Waymo's
hold
testing
up,
right
hold
now
up,
in
hold up.
downtown Detroit. It's this is not this is not no 5 year thing. This is the future is here. It's here today.
Yeah, bro. Like man, like, mind you, so I got into Atlanta today. I've done the Waymo experience in San Francisco, and I remember when I was there, you literally could not go a block without seeing probably like 4 or 5 Waymos all at the intersection at
Yeah,
once.
yeah.
That is how it is here in Atlanta.
Wow.
Jeez.
Like, genuinely, bro, like, I
Jeez.
was in Midtown, West Midtown, Buckhead. Kid you not, bro. Each time there were multiple, it was either Zooks or Waymo. And so,
It's th
like,
th
that
this thi
actually
this is
surprised me
gonna
with
transform everything.
And
It's not clicking. I don't think it's clicking that I
It
don't think it's
it's gonna
clicking.
click it's gonna click soon because Uber just announced. I just saw a video on Bloomberg actually. Uber was just they just did a joint interview with the Zoox CEO, which is a woman of color, by the way. So shout out to her. She and Uber, they just formed a partnership where essentially Zoox is gonna be using the Uber platform as well as they're gonna have their own direct to consumer platform, probably a business platform as well where companies can ship, like DoorDash could probably use them to ship orders back and forth between restaurants and customers. But they will be adding this to Uber. And so folks to use Uber as their prime dominant rideshare platform eventually it's just and I know in Austin Waymo has a partnership with Uber as well. So it seems like from a distribution, we talk a lot about distribution here on this podcast. From a distribution standpoint, it seemed like a lot of these self-driving car companies are starting to partner with existing platforms that are already in the hands of consumers. And so,
Yes.
if you don't know about these things that are coming, you soon will, because we know that Uber is ubiquitous in the U.S. So is Lyft, but Uber is everywhere. And so, as people start opening their Uber apps to go to the airport, like I'm about to do tomorrow, eventually you're gonna start seeing some new ride options that you've never seen before. And so, I think it's coming for sure. By the way, again, these partnerships with Uber and some of the other partnerships that I know are going to be coming soon.
It's insane. And when people ride them, especially people who are in this industry who have built tech, even if you're not, but especially if you are in it, you will start seeing the future. You'll start seeing the future.
facts.
And we could go so long on this, but we do have, I think we have time for one more. I think we got time
Yeah,
for
let's do
one
it.
more. Let's
Let's
do
do it. Let's
one
do it.
more. Well, okay. I think that we'll table. We had a handful of topics for everybody, but we're gonna table one of the ones that Dre and Brian are really passionate about because there's not enough time. We're gonna table
The
that
one
one.
that was the one I really wanted to go into. I was waiting on that one.
We're gonna table that one because that was gonna be like I want to give y'all 40, 30, 40, like 30 minutes to like
We're gonna have new information by then.
Oh, for sure. So it's all good.
maybe we should
Yeah.
start. Yeah, on the next podcast we'll start with that topic. I won't tell everybody what it is. We'll start with that
For sure.
topic. Just so all you know, it's gonna be about 40 minutes. And I'm not gonna even say much. It's Dre and Brylan that's gonna speak on that. I'll try to get a little bit of information to try to chime in. One that's a little bit shorter for the time that we have is Meta. There's a few things going on with Meta actually. One thing I just want to bring up that I didn't bring up to the guys is that one the Meta glasses concern, privacy concerns are starting to pop up, lawsuits, etc. So that's a very interesting one. And then another one is the Meta Super Intelligence team, or whatever they call it, the AI team there is being restructured. There was a guy from Scale AI, Mr. Yang. He seems to have his position being changed. He was the guy who replaced a top AI scientist called Jan. I think his last name is Luchin, I believe. And Jan Luchin actually went and started a company called AMI or Advanced Machine Intelligence, in which case he's claiming the AI is based on real world intelligence and not LLMs. So essentially, he's basically saying AGI or artificial general intelligence will not be achieved by predicting words. And so I just laid out a couple of things, the privacy, the AI changes, and then the X Meta. Because after he got demoted, he pretty much said, fuck Meta. I'm going to start my own thing. I think he raised $1 billion to do it. And so now he's working on that. And ironically, the guy that replaced him is getting seemingly demoted. So that's the frame there.
BS on the privacy concern. I mean,
Okay.
bro, everybody has a device in their pocket that has a camera and a microphone on it. It's
Right.
like, if we wanna talk privacy, I feel like this conversation should have happened a decade ago,
Mhm.
or the uproar of madness about this a decade ago. I get people's point, right? Like, people can be recording you, but again, my argument to that is everybody already has a device that's capable of what Meta glasses are doing, and have had this device in their pocket for a long time. You know what I'm saying? So if there's a privacy concern, I mean, I feel like we're past that point, in my opinion, at least in society. We've already accepted a baseline of privacy by having these devices on us 24/7 that have GPSs, again, cameras, microphones, micro cameras on the front, on the back. I mean, you see people out in public like this with their phone all the time. You have no idea what the hell people doing on their screen. I got a privacy screen on my phone, so people can't even see my
Yeah,
screen.
same,
Right. So,
same.
like, and I'm just saying, so, like, I don't know. I mean, I get it in theory what the concern is around the privacy, but my thing is, like, we've already chosen that we're okay with giving that right up. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a phone in our pocket.
So there's that, and there's also there's that, which I would lean with Dre. I think what people maybe just need to do is just pay more attention. There are glasses that exist that can record you. So just pay attention to your surroundings. And they all have this light. Some of them, people are blocking that little light, so the recording is secret. But you can still obviously, I'm telling you, these glasses, if you're a person that pays attention to your surroundings, you cannot miss them. Yeah, I'm sorry. You're gonna see the camera in somebody's glasses. You're gonna see it. The second thing, though, in regards to privacy, was Meta employees are being able to see some of the private videos that people are recording, which may have a little bit more validity there from what I'm seeing. Essentially, they're using some of this AI some of these recordings to, like, I guess, train AIs in some ways, and
We knew that
that
was going to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's a meta move, though. That like when we say we, are you talking about us on the podcast, or are you talking about the
I,
average consumer?
I think we've talked about this before, right? And we should be very clear. If you are using a third party software company, that is not your data. Okay. When you sign up for a terms of service, it is clearly outlined that that data belongs to the company. Any data generated on that device, any data generated in that system belongs to the company. It is not your data. That is just baseline. So from that standpoint, people seem like people just don't understand that. That's really what it is. Because if you understood that, then it's like it's no upward. Because it's like, okay, cool. If you use Apple products, even though they say, hey, we don't use that, I guarantee you it's in the privacy policy or terms of service that they can use it. Now they may choose not to use it, but it's there. It is there to let you know that you don't own that data, and it's up to their discretion on how they want it to be used. That's just baseline. And so anybody who thinks, "Oh, this is my data," it's not your data. You're renting a device. You don't even own that shit.
Yes. Yeah. And to answer what Dre said, especially like, so 100%, if a company has not explicitly mentioned privacy, then you should just assume that all your information can be used. And then, but also, to Dre's point about Apple, even if they have explicitly mentioned privacy, you want to be sure that you want to be sure that it doesn't apply broadly. Apple doesn't. They may be privacy focused, but it's not broadly. For example, your iCloud may not be entirely protected. If something happens in the case of case or whatever, etc., your iCloud is probably. But then, for example, your iMessages, there's more of a technical standard. But that doesn't stop people from getting your text messages, especially if maybe not from Apple, but they would be able to get them from your phone carrier if it still went through your phone carrier. You know, at the same time though, when a company explicitly states privacy, don't trust that either fully. If you're technical, read the documents.
Facts.
If you're non-technical, ask somebody that you know that knows technology to read the documents, and they will tell you if you care enough. Now, or you could just also take the approach that I'm going to be watched, whatever I do. So whatever I do should be something that I do not care about being watched. And if this ever got exposed for any reason, if it ever got leaked, somebody stole my device, etc., you want to think about it like that. I do understand that we live in a time where our computers are very personal. Our computers are very personal, and it is tricky provide a lot of the things that all of us want while also protecting privacy. So that's a very tricky aspect there. But that's not the only concern Meta is having outside the privacy. So like clearly there's something going on with the AI stuff.
Yeah, I feel like because I mean we were talking about this earlier. There were the comments that recently popped up around what they had to reorg in their AI with their AI super intelligence team, if I remember correctly. And then there were their whole rumors around like Alexander Wang, who came over from Scale AI and the Acquihire, and is now the chief AI officer. There were some
Yeah,
You think he tried? You think Zuck tried to buy Claude? Yeah, no.
probably.
He made him the offer. I know he did. Because he not afraid to throw you a bag. I mean, he's done it before. He not afraid to spend money on acquisitions. If there's anybody to understand the strategic value of a good asset, yeah, same.
Yeah, don't start. Don't start. Don't start. We're almost look. I was with you with the Manus part. Yeah, I was with you with the Manus part, but you had to throw in. I knew. I was like, is he gonna mention perplexity? Because I knew what they came out with. You just, Brylan, you just can't. Because you know what? I say this every time. Brylan has strong product taste. He has strong product taste. Brylan likes great products, right? And Perplexity itself is a great and beautifully designed product. Craftsmanship is on another level. But even before our break on the podcast, we had a long break on the podcast. There was a podcast where I talked about the Perplexity CEO. And if anybody goes back to those podcasts, you will see that I was claiming that that CEO was distracted and didn't know what he was doing. And he was not going to end up in the top conversation of LLMs and everything else. And what do you know? We don't talk about this guy. Now, he just recently released Perplexity Computer because it's becoming relevant in ages and whatnot. So he's trying to get a little bit of relevancy there and trying to speed there. And maybe there's a little bit of statistics that Brylan quoted about what they're doing over there. But at the end of the day, let's be honest with this. Let's be honest. I'm still on his head. I'm sorry. Sometimes I on this podcast, sometimes I'll let y'all know I'm going to shoot at some founders. And it's not personal. It's not personal. In fact, when I was a founder, there was nobody harder on myself than me. And I can tell you this. And also sometimes my hope is maybe one day when my clips gets to one of these guys and they see it, they probably won't receive it because, my tone. But if they see it and they actually can look past the tone, they can see that I want to help them. Look, you have a great product, great craftsmanship, great concept, but you're not gonna do anything. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Brylan cares, but Brylan is not enough. But Brylan is not enough. You know what I'm saying? Brylan is not enough. They should have done it sooner. They should have been right. We're gonna take over Google. Did I age well? Yeah. Well, that's what it was. It was desperation, bro. I'm sorry. How they
Wait,
gonna
is that
ride the how they gonna ride the cloud bot hype? How they gonna ride the cloud bot hype? They bought
is
into the
that
cloud bot hype so that they can sell the company.
is that out yet, or is that coming?
Dre, come on now.
Okay.
I know you're seeing what I'm seeing. Dre, come on, man. And you
I
be
mean,
quiet on this. You see what I'm saying? So they seen Claude bot. They seen all those,
honestly,
those people.
I thought Perplexity was dead. To be honest, I didn't even know they was still around. But I have been hearing about this computer thing. I don't know much about it. I really don't know much about it. I don't.
Dre be
I thought they
giving
were
credit.
dead.
See, Dre.
I don't know much
Okay.
about it. I
All
do
right,
use
but
I do use Cowork though, so I will take a look at it. I'll take a look at it. I do like Cowork though. I do find some value there.
Dre
And
is friendly.
I'm bullish. I'm bullish on agents. I am very bullish on these agents. Whether or not Perplexity has something here, I don't know. But I am bullish on these agents. So it seemed like the founder, he know how to ride waves. You know what I'm saying? He know how to ride waves.
Dre
He ride
is
the waves.
founder friendly. If Dre actually is an investor, but Dre is actually founder friendly. He will not call. I am trying to get Dre to call this shit for what it is. This is no different than what I was saying before. How first you were gonna kill Google, you're gonna replace Google. You're gonna be able to, you're gonna first, that's what you're gonna do. Now you see the Claude bot wave, which was a fake wave, is not a real wave. Agents are not useful enough, and there's also too many security vulnerabilities. You hop in and you buy Mac Minis like the average random person on Twitter that bought 5 Mac Minis and set it up, and then they had no tasks. Like, what do you need all these? Like, how many tasks do you guys have? Like, after you clear your inbox, after you do all this stuff, how many tasks do you have? Even like I heard what J. Cal was saying on it on This Week in Startups. He's caught up in the hype because you got the money to be. You'll know it's useful when people who don't got money are starting to consider whether it's worth it, or when people have less money and start to consider whether or not it's worth it. This stuff is like buying a, just come on now. Come on, guys. But you know what? Look, we'll give him well, I won't, but we'll give him a pass, and, let him slide. And maybe he pulls off something, but Madness did the right thing. They sold to Meta, and Meta's going to try to do something with that, just like how they're doing with Maltbook. We don't got time to hop into the Maltbook thing. We could probably tap into that on the next podcast.
Sure.
But guys, Brylan, you just had to bring, I'm sorry, guys. It's kind of like with the cloud thing. It's like, I'm telling you, Dario is not going to be number one, and he's just not going to be number one. He doesn't have what it takes. He's too nice of a guy. He's not a true founder. He's just a guy who thought he was morally superior than Sam Altman, and ultimately is playing the same game. So all these guys, I hate to break. No, now if he changes, I will update. If any of these guys change, I will update. I'm not going to ignore evidence. But come on, Claudebot, you chasing the Claudebot hype. You bought a bunch of Mac Minis, and then you want to turn around and then repackage it and sell it to us like we idiots? Like, come on.
Yeah, my man says that he is the master of repackaging. He
Right. He just repackages
is good at that.
shit.
He is good at that.
He sees some shit, he repackages it, makes it look a certain way, and it's like, here you guys go. Like, stop. Please stop. Acquihire. He needs to be, I don't know what company he needs to be at, but he would maybe OpenAI should get those guys or something. He's good at what he does. It's just that it's not kill Google. It's not even you can't even kill Yahoo. It's like, come on. Yahoo Bing. Like, start there first. Sorry. I'm sorry. But I think that might be our last one. But yeah, I'm just saying, guys. I'm just saying.
All right, that's a good point to wrap it up, y'all.
1